Yo again. Welcome back. Sitting here with Master Yan Wu, getting to know the guy. Starting with a boatload of moonlight. The early sages lived in utmost fragility, and the ancient worthies overcame hardships and lived as Wow. Again, I'm not ready. I'm more eager than I am ready. Austerely. So, the early sages lived with utmost frugality, and the ancient worthies overcame hardships and lived austerely. They purified their will in this, forgetting food and sleep. They studied with total concentration and accurate focus, seeking true realization. How could they have been making plans for abundant food and fine clothes and luxurious housing and fancy medicines? When it gets to the point where the path is not as good as in the ancient times, then there is criticism that the wheel of Dharma is not turning and that the wheel of food is taking precedence. Because of this, the Zen monasteries call their chief elders meal chiefs. Isn't this completely opposite from the ancient way? Nevertheless, in the gate of the changing along with conditions, we also carry out the secondary label. On the northern mountain, welcoming wayfarers from all directions, we look to the southern fields. This fall it happens that there is a big crop. We have asked you to observe the harvest, and now that you are about to go, you have asked for some words of instruction. So I have told you about the foregoing set of circumstances. What is important is to respect the root and extend it to the branches. This will benefit both root and branches, and also illuminate the legitimate and fundamental task of people of complete enlightenment and comprehensive mastery. If you work hard to carry this out, you will surely improve. In general, to study the path and seek out the mystery, you must have a great basis of faith. You use this faith to believe in a deep sense that this matter does not lie in words or in any of the myriad experiential states. In fact, in truth, the path is right where you stand. Put aside the crazy and false mind that has been concocting your knowledge and understanding, and make it so that nothing whatsoever is weighing on your mind. Fully take up this matter in your perfect, wondrous, inherent nature, which is fundamentally pure and quiescent. Subject and object are both forgotten, and the road of words and thoughts is cut off. You open through and clearly see your original face. Make it so that once found, it is found forever and remains solid and unmoving. After that, you can change your step and transform your personal existence. You can say things and put forth energy without falling into realms of the delusions of form, sensation, conception, evaluation, and consciousness. Then, all the phenomena of enlightenment will appear before you in a regular array. You will reach this state where everything you do while walking and sitting is all Zen. You will shed the root of birth and death and forever leave behind all that covers and binds you. You will become free, an untrammeled wayfarer without concerns. Why would you need to search the pages of someone else's dead words, like we are now? There are ancestral teachers on the tips of 100 grasses. With these words, Jishan pointed it out so the people could become acquainted with it. Quan Ping said, "The great meaning is there, in the fields." Bazang extended his hands, wanting to let people know. If you can become round and complete as a ripe grain of rice, this is the transmission of the mind seal. If you still long for peaceful existence, this will make you experience the first noble truth that suffering exists. How will you say something about about coming out of the weeds? A boatload of bright moonlight carries it back. Truth and perception. The present perception is the truth, but the truth is beyond this perception. If you are attached to perception, then this is a perception. This is not arriving at the truth. Those who arrive at truth transcend perception, but they manage to use perception without dwelling in perception. When you pass directly through perception and get free of it, it is all the fundamental truth. This truth is not being or non-being. It is not speech or silence. It can manifest both being and non-being, both speech and silence. It is forever constant and unchanging. Therefore, Yunmen said, it cannot be existent when you speak of it and non-existent when you don't, or existent when you think of it and non-existent when you don't. You must subtly arrive at this truth and get its great function. Always let transcendent wisdom appear, whether you are speaking or silent, whatever you are doing. Is there any need to say that it is close at hand when you are in your teacher's presence and far away when you are in the countryside? I guess he was asked this question, why does it feel like you're so far away? So he's saying this wisdom is here with you wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Do you really need to say that it's close at hand when you're in your teacher's presence and far away when you're in the countryside? As you go directly forward, naturally you will encounter it wherever you are. All the enlightened ones and ancestral teachers take this one true being very seriously. It is spread among beings of all potentials, high and low, noble and lowly, without any preferences or aversions. It is in all kinds of action, naturally real, clear and complete. If you make a special thing out of your views of Buddha Dharma and mystical marvels, then there is a lack. But if you are able to refrain from creating arbitrary views and are clean and naked like this, then it's completely revealed. If this matter were in words, then it would be definable in a single statement with no further change. Why would there be thousands and thousands of sayings imparted by enlightened adepts with no end to them? From this we know that it is not within words, but we need to use words to illustrate this matter. Sharp-spirited people should directly comprehend this idea. Those who realize transcendent pass through words and phrases and can make them come to life. They can use one saying as 100,000 sayings, or use 100,000 sayings as one saying. Why should you have any more doubts about famous Zen sayings like these? Mind itself is Buddha. It's not mind, it's not Buddha. It's not mind, not Buddha, not a thing. Mind is not Buddha. Knowledge is not the way. Eastern Mountain walks on the water. Strike the midnight bell at noon. A donkey is eating grass in the backyard. Hide your body in the Northern Dipper. All these sayings are strung on one thread. The Venerable Yan Yang asked Cao Zhao, when one doesn't bring a single thing, then what? Cao Zhao said, put it down. Yin Yang said, if I don't bring a single thing, what should I put down? And Cao Zhao said, I see, you cannot put it down. At these words, Yan Yang was greatly enlightened. Later, Hung Along wrote a verse to go with this story. Not bringing a single thing, he can't lift it even using both arms. Clear-eyed man like Cao Zhao is hard to find. At a word, Yan Yang realized his error. If he stepped back, he'd fall into a deep pit. In his heart was boundless joy, like that of a pauper finding a jewel. Once the poison is forgotten, there's no connection. Snakes and tigers become his intimate friends. Different species, equally understood. Over the lonely centuries, the pure wind has never stopped. If you discuss Zhao Zhao's answer, put it down. From the standpoint of common sense, Yan Yang said he wasn't bringing a single thing, so how could Zhao Zhao tell him to put it down? From this we know that the eye of objective reality illuminates the finest subtleties. Zhao Zhao exposed the serious disease of carrying one's conditioned perceptions around everywhere, to make Yan Yang begin to feel shame. But Yan Yang still did not realize what Zhao Zhao meant, so he persisted with his question. Zhao Zhao again pointed out his error, at which point Yan Yang dissolved and at last was thoroughly set free. Later on, Yan Yang got to the point where he could tame wild tigers and poisonous snakes. Isn't this a case of inner feeling and outward response? Layman Pang was with his whole family sitting around the fire. Layman Pang suddenly said, "Difficult, difficult, 10 bushels of oil hemp spread out on a tree." Miss Pang said, "Easy, easy, on the tips of 100 grasses, the meaning of Zen." And their daughter, Ling Zhao, said, "Not difficult, not easy, eating when hungry, sleeping when tired." Usually when I relate this story to people, most of them prefer Ling Zhao's remark for saving energy, and dislike what Old Man Pang and Old Lady Pang said about difficult and easy. This is nothing but making interpretations by following the words. People who think like this are far from getting to the root of the fundamental design. That is why the arising of the tracks of words is the origin of the paths that deviate from the truth. Only if you can forget the words and embody the meaning will you see how these 3 Zen teachers put forth a hand and together held up the bottomless basket, how they strained out mussels and clams. You will see how in every move they had the ability to kill people's false selves with and conditioned perceptions, and how, in every case, they had to road to get out on. Direct pointing. When Bodhidharma came from the West, bringing the Zen transmission to China, he did not set up written or spoken formulas. He only pointed directly to the human mind. If we speak of direct pointing, this just refers to what is inherent in everyone. The whole essence appears responsively from within the shell of ignorance. This is no different in ordinary people than in all the sages since time immemorial. It is what we call the natural, real, inherent nature, fundamentally pure, luminous, and sublime. It swallows up and spits out all of space. It is a single solid realm that stands out alone, free from the senses and their objects. Just detach from thoughts, and cut off sentiments and transcend the ordinary conventions. Use your own inherent power and take up its great capacity and great wisdom right where you are. It is like letting go when you're hanging from a mile-high cliff, releasing your body and not relying on anything anymore. Totally shed the obstructions of views and understandings so that you're like a person who has died the great death. Your breath is cut off and you arrive at great sensation and great rest on the fundamental ground. Your sense faculties have no inkling of this, and your consciousness and perceptions and sentiments and thoughts do not reach this far. After that, in the cold ashes of the dead fire, it is clear everywhere, and among the stumps of the dead trees everything is illuminated. When you merge with solitary transcendence and reach unstoppable heights, then you merge with solitary transcendence and reach unapproachable heights. You don't have to seek mind or seek Buddha anymore. You bump into them wherever you go. And they do not come from the outside. The hundreds and thousands of aspects and facets of enlightenment since time immemorial are just this. This is mind. There is no need to go on seeking mind. This is Buddha. Why keep struggling to seek Buddha? If you make slogans based on words and sprout interpretations based on objects, then you fall into the bag of antique curios. And you will never be able to find this true realm of absolute awareness beyond sentiments. At this stage, you are free to go forward in the wild field without choosing, picking up whatever comes to hand. Without choosing. Picking up whatever comes to hand, the meaning of the ancestral teachers is clear in all that grows there. What's more, the thickets of green bamboo, and the masses of yellow flowers, and the fences and walls and tiles and pebbles are inanimate things teaching the Dharma. The water birds and the groves of trees expound the truths of suffering, emptiness, and selflessness. Based on the one true reality, they extend objectiveless compassion and form the great jewel of light of Nirvana. They reveal uncontrived, surpassingly wondrous powers. Cheng Qing said, "When you meet a companion on the path, stand shoulder to shoulder and go on. Then your lifetime task of learning will be accomplished." Enlightened reality and worldly phenomena. All things are set on a non-abiding basis. The non-abiding basis is based on non-abiding. If you can reach a thorough realization of this, then all things are one suchness, and you cannot even find the slightest sign of abiding. The whole of your present activities and behavior is non-abiding. Once the basis is clear to you, it will be like having eyes, the sun shining brightly, and you can see all kinds of colors and forms. Isn't this the mainspring of transcendent wisdom? Yongjia said, "Without leaving wherever you are, there is constant clarity. No words come closer to truth than these. If you start seeking, then you know that you are unable to see. Just cut off any duality between wherever you are and constant clarity, and make yourself peaceful and serene. Avoid concocting intellectual understanding and seeking. As soon as you seek, it's like grasping at shadows." Laban Pang asked Mazao, "Who is it that does not keep company with the myriad things?" I say to you, turn the light around and reflect back on yourself and see. Mazao replied. There was Yanwu interjected, so the question ended with, "What keeps company with myriad things?" Yanwu said, "Turn the light around and reflect upon yourself," but Matsu replied, "When you drink up all the water in the Western River in one swallow, then I'll tell you." This answer was like an 8-cornered mortar running through space. If you can come to grips with this and penetrate through, then what you see before your eyes will reach equilibrium, and the illusions that have afflicted you since time without beginning will be washed away. Deshan beckoned with the fan from across the river, and someone immediately understood. The bird's nest monk blew out a blanket, and someone was enlightened. Doesn't this show that when the time for this great cause arises, roots and sprouts grow of themselves? Doesn't this confirm that there is space for the teacher's action and the learner's reaction to reach accord? Doesn't this prove that when the people involved have been practicing inwardly without interruption, that they can be activated by a genuine teacher? When you have complete trust in the mind and you see through to its true nature, then there's not the least bit of leakage in any activities. The totality of worldly phenomenon is the Bodhidharma, and the totality of the Bodhidharma is worldly phenomenon. They are equally one suchness. How could it be there when you speak of it, and not there when you don't? Or there when you think of it, and not there when you don't? Hey, remember he said that before, and he said that Yunmen said that? He just quoted Yunmen. Yay! If that is so, then you are right there in the midst of false imagination and emotional interpretations. When have you ever experienced penetrating realization? When there is continuous awareness from mind moment to mind moment, that does not leave anything out. The mundane reality and enlightened reality are not separate. Then you will naturally become pure and fully ripe and meet the source on all sides. If someone asks you questions, you answer according to the question. And if there are no questions, you remain clear and still. Isn't this the essential guideline for really passing through birth and death to freedom? When you have passed through the last word, then you won't even need to see through speech and no speech, transcendence and accommodation, provisional and real, illumination and function, giving and taking away. Who recognizes the mastery of the great Zen teacher like Cao Cao? To do this, you must be a seedling of our house. This great cause. In the olden days, whenever teachers and students met, it was for the sake of this great cause, and they never failed to use it to inspire and uplift. Even when they were eating or sleeping or at leisure, they were always concentrating their minds on this. That is why they were able to experience a meeting of potentials in a word or a phrase, a blow or a shout, or any momentary event or activity. This was because, with sincerity and concentrated focus, and without so much defilement by wrong ideas and perceptions, they were able to take it up directly, and it didn't seem difficult. These days, the brothers are errant and dull, and all mixed up with miscellaneous concerns. Even if they study with an enlightened teacher and are exposed to his influences for a long time, they still facilitate and waver and cannot proceed directly to penetrating realization. The problem is the lack of purity and focus over the long term. If you can work hard on the way, day and night, heedless of food and sleep, have no worries that you will not equal the ancients. No, we're going to stop. Ding, ding, ding. I'll be back later.